It's a Gimmicks bonus episode. I'm Derek B. Gale.
And I'm David Arnold.
And we are doing something we have never done before, but I think you'll see more things like this. We wanted to do some bonus things that are fun and not that our podcast isn't normally fun, but fun in that it's just nothing. We're not taking this seriously. This is not a deeply researched episode like we normally do, other than, copying and pasting from Wikipedia. We just wanted a space where we could just talk about either current TV things like we are today that we want to talk about, but maybe don't want to devote a full episode to, or maybe just some weird things in the space of TV that excites us, that feels sort of within the gimmick scope of weird TV or experimental TV, but that maybe wouldn't fit into a regular episode of a regular fully produced episode of the podcast. So that's what we're doing now. Hopefully you'll see more of these. But today we are here because we wanted to talk about a recent television crossover, relevant because we just did an episode on It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. So it felt like the right time. And this is a crossover that Always Sunny did earlier this year with the sitcom Abbott Elementary. And it's very unique and fascinating for many different reasons that we'll talk about.
For real. But Derek, have you been an Abbott watcher? Were you sort of into that? This is a pretty recent show. Honestly, I was surprised we were on season 4. That shocked me a little bit because I remember it being oh, this is I guess the first time I watched it, I was this is a Hulu show, even though I know it's not. But to me, my only entry point to this was watching it streaming. And that was unique in other shows. But were you there? Have you been an Abbott watcher?
Yeah, since not exactly the beginning. I think the first season had finished and I'd been hearing a lot of really good buzz about it. And I think it really was one of those things where it's just I am just in the mood to watch a sitcom or comedy show. This was one that was easy to find because it was all on Hulu. And the first season was only 13 episodes. It was a mid-season show. And I was I also hadn't had anything that really filled the Parks and Rec void. I feel
sure,
there's a particular brand of not just mockumentary format, though certainly that's part of it, but the type of humor that Parks and Rec had, where it's it's smart, but it is also meant to be pretty heartwarming. It's not meant to be something that's gonna intellectually challenge you necessarily, even while they're making smart comedy, if that makes sense, right? A lot of heartwarming stuff. It's just really well-defined, funny characters in funny situations with emotional plot lines you can get invested in, but not something that's gonna break your heart or whatever,
Well, and Janine's got a very Leslie Knope feel. I mean, yes. She is, first of all, you want to root for Janine at all times. And then sometimes you also want to hug her and save her from the dangers that she is about to face.
Right. Out of it. So out of all the mockumentary things, out of The Office and Modern Family and stuff like that, I think Parks and Rec is the closest in DNA to Abbott Elementary. And also it being about a school, and working in public school, I think does feel very akin to Parks and Rec being about local government, right?
Right.
So I think that those two things feel very similar because they're going to deal with sort of similar social issues and political issues in their storytelling. And I do think too, Parks and Rec, obviously, it maybe even has come up on the podcast before, but it's sort of it's I don't think that it's aged badly, but it also hasn't aged amazingly because it's a very particular point in time for politics, and the way that liberal politics were sort of presented and sort of the pat on the backness that was happening, I think at the time, we solved the issues now. The progressives have won or whatever. And it's little do they know. And there's a little bit of that vibe that I think it's hard to go back to Parks sometimes with the level of optimism that they have about the government in general. Abbott, however, because it's sort of about public schooling and in this present time, I think I feel so tapped in on the pulse of where culture is at right now. And even though it's not a heavily political show, I think it has a very good pulse on where politics are often, and can speak to that even in sort of small ways sometimes. But all that's to say, I heard it was good. I watched it. I liked it. It filled the void that I totally had wanted to fill, that I didn't even realize necessarily that it was going to fill. And I've stuck with it and basically watched it as it's aired since then for
cool.
up through now.
That's awesome. Yeah, because I started watching it. I remember watching it in the bathtub. It was something that I like took my iPad in and threw on Hulu and was like, I hear great things about this. And I think we were on episode 3 or 4 when I started, and I could obviously get to the beginning and like, I mean, these are 30 minutes. Like I think I probably watched all 4 that were available before the bath got cold. Like I think I like went through this and I devoured it. I mean, I think there was a pretty marked improvement around maybe even the middle of season 1 that like hooked me and I was there, but I have not watched any of season 4 yet outside of this episode. And I can't even justify my actions. I'm not sure why we haven't.
Have you watched like the first, like everything else up to season 4?
Oh yeah.
Season 4, I've really liked it a lot. It's interesting because I do think Abbott Elementary is an interesting show in that not every episode is like hysterically funny sometimes. And part of that is maybe my sense of humor and everything. Sometimes it is just sort of like, this is very network sitcom humor, which I have no issues with, to be clear. I'm not saying that in a condescending way, but it's not necessarily always the exact type of humor that like that hits me in particular sometimes. But there's also episodes of the show that are some of the funniest shit I have ever seen.
Outrageous.
Like it really truly does kind of waver back and forth in a way that just feels very old school TV, where like sometimes you get an episode that's like whatever and forgettable, and sometimes you get an episode that is hysterically funny. So it's that kind of show. But I do think this season has had like really, really fascinatingly constructed story arcs. And takes some really significant swings and then resolves those swings in ways that I think are kind of unexpected, but good. I've really, really liked this season a lot, actually.
Yeah. The only reason that it might not have occurred to us that it even had a new season, because sometimes we'll miss things, but like if I don't remember to get on the VPN when something is starting, Hulu won't like send the ping to the Apple TV. It won't be in our like continue watching thing, and that's how we often miss things until I see it on like social media, and until you were like, oh, the crossover. I guess I remember when the crossover hit. People were talking about it, and I was like, I don't remember a crossover episode. And that's because I missed half a season already.
Yeah. So what? But no. Well, you just told me about what your experience was.
But I really loved it. I mean, I love that they're. I gotta say, like, so I love Ava because like I do love a bitch, but like
she's so fucking funny. Janelle James is so
good.
Like, where did she come from? She's so good.
But I guess one of the other things I really like about Ava, and I know, so I did watch Quinta Brunson's. I don't remember if they were on. Well, they wouldn't have been on TikTok. That would have been too early.
She did a lot of BuzzFeed stuff.
Yeah, it was maybe on BuzzFeed, but it was the sequence about like she'd never been on a good date and she was like playing characters, but like against herself. And it was one of those like internet video things, and it went like super viral.
I see what you're talking about. The Instagram series "Girl Who's Never Been on a Nice Date."
Yes. Okay.
Got it.
I'm not a big Instagram user, but yeah, probably that must have been how I saw it. And I remember being really into that, and that was sort of viral in the moment. And she's really good, but again, because of the other things I've seen her in and the interviews that she's done, I feel like she gets to she can't be Janine and have some of the things that she wants to say about racial commentary. And so those lines of dialogue end up in the mouth of Ava or end up in the mouth of Shirley Ralph. And I think it's so incredible to be able to utilize that in such a way, because the more despicable character of Ava ends up being the one who has some of the things that I agree with most as political commentary. And I really, really love that around like racial equity. And it's just, we even get it in this crossover episode when they're like talking about the Eagles and Ava is like, okay, Caucasian Congress off. Like, you got to stop talking about football.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. Like I do think it's, every character in this show I think is really, really well defined. And I think they found, I mean, some sitcoms like this, they have rough edges and have to change out cast members and stuff. Looking at Parks and Rec, right now, Mark Brendanawicz and then Brandon Mascot, Rob Lowe, right? Like, this show, I don't think has that. Like, I can't imagine any of these characters like leaving the show and being replaced by anyone else at any point,
No.
And I don't know that bringing in a new cast member necessarily would be like a good idea either, at least at this point. Like, I think they've got like pretty perfect chemistry all together for this specific group that they have.
Well, and I remember the first season, being at the not the edge of my seat, because I think I did exclusively watch this in the bathtub because I had to rewatch season 1 with Mike when we watched it together. I remember being at the edge of my seat that like Tyler James Williams was going to leave because his storyline is always like, oh, I'm going to be a principal, or like something's going to happen. And I was really, I don't often like want characters to get together and things. That's just not how I normally engage with. But him and Janine were like vibing so strongly that like I really wanted it to happen. I hated / loved Tariq so much that I was like, you have to get rid of this man, except he could marry me because I can fix him.
It's like this. It's funny. This show does so many of the things that you have already seen before on sitcoms like this. Like, you know, the Janine and Gregory like story is very Jim and Pam and very Leslie and Ben. Like,
it is.
They're kind of both of those combined in some ways. But it's also like, but that's why you watch network sitcoms, is to sort of see these sort of archetypes and tropes just played out and mixed and matched with different types of characters. Like, that's sort of the fun of it, you know. Like, I'm not coming to this show for like pure innovation. I think the show does do things that are innovative sometimes, but that's not what I'm coming to it for. It is. I mean, it is kind of built to be a comfort show in so many ways, and I think it excels at that really, really well.
And I think the other thing that stands out for me as like a big surprise as I was watching the series, because, you know, like, okay, so we host podcasts about media, and so I think that we're probably critical media viewers. I don't know when it occurred to me, but at one point in time, it was like I had saw The Matrix and couldn't unsee it. The kids are so good. The kids are like genuinely great child actors.
They're some of the best jokes of this show are kids reacting to the ridiculous adult cast members.
Yes,
truly.
It's like good child actors, and I just like, when you see bad child actors, it does stick out. And so maybe I was not quite seeing it at first, and it makes me appreciate every time I get to see the kids every time.
Yeah. I think that they're smart with the children because they don't make the children characters most of the time.
Right.
They really truly let the character. There are kids that you will recognize will pop up a lot, and some of the older ones might have more to do, but like they're pretty much all exclusively there to be supporting cast that make jokes. Like, and I think that helps a lot because you're not having to lean so much on the kids for this show either.
Right. But I mean, obviously you couldn't do a show without the children because it would feel empty and sterile. But like, I think having bad kids would also be bad, you know? Like,
right. Oh, for sure. Yeah. All of that I think is important setup because, you know, as you're talking about what this show is, of being the sort of very comforting like sitcom that it hits so well because it is hit with a wide audience, a mainstream audience, in a way that is really hard for a lot of shows, especially like a predominantly black sitcom, to hit with just like a wide audience these days, right? On a television network. And it does, like, it's popular with your older demographic, as popular as it is with younger people streaming it on Hulu afterwards, right? So that's really cool. So it makes it extra fascinating when it does a crossover with a dark, raunchy adult cable show that the only real DNA related within each other is just they both take place in the same city in America. Like, it's really fucking cool.
Yeah.
And that's why we're doing this, is to talk about the crossover, which was a big, pretty highly anticipated thing because of how weird it is. Crossover between Abbott Elementary and It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia that happened earlier this year. It's basically split between two episodes. The first episode that has aired right now aired on January 8th of this year, 2025. That was at Abbott Elementary, which was in season 4, episode 9. And then the second part, fascinatingly, does not air until the summer because It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, because it's not like a partner show with Abbott Elementary, has a completely different schedule for seasons. So its season doesn't even start until the summer. It's going to be the first episode of that season. So the first episode of season 17 is going to be part 2 of this crossover, which is basically the same story told from 2 points of views.
So cool.
Between the two shows. But you're still not going to see that for like another, like, at least a month and a half after you're hearing this podcast, which is so fascinating to me.
You know what's kind of fun is that you either needed to do this like back to back, where you could watch one and then watch the other, or you need this much time to like kind of forget about it so that you can see the experience again and have like a different vibe on it, because if I assume it's going to be shot in like It's Always Sunny style,
right,
which is different than Abbott style, and I think that's something fun for us to talk about. Yeah. Maybe that's why when all of the news came out and people were really excited about the crossover, I was like, oh well, yeah, crossovers are fun, whatever, and I just sort of moved on because I hadn't at that point of time seen any It's Always Sunny.
Oh sure,
I had seen Abbott. Now that I've seen It's Always Sunny, I think I would have been a lot more primed for that news, because I would have been like, why would you let those characters into this holy, sacred, safe space? Why would you let that happen?
Yeah, it's wild. I mean, everything about this I think is really interesting. Like, TV crossovers obviously have been a thing for a very long time. I don't think it's interesting because nowadays we live in a society, is what I almost said. We live in a pop culture landscape where everyone is expecting, you know, crossovers within major properties and franchises, right? Every Marvel thing, you're looking for which Marvel foes and what future Marvel movie it's going to affect. Every Star Wars thing is like, when's the sort of CGI Luke Skywalker going to show up in this one, right? Like, we're primed for that.
Yeah.
But there is a difference between the big sprawling franchise universe crossovers that are the big thing now versus like just two different television shows with characters that cross over. I think that still happens sometimes. Obviously it happened here, but it doesn't happen as much as I think as it used to. It used to be a pretty, like, even as a novelty, it would be a frequent thing where it's sort of like, yeah, you have multiple shows on one network. These shows that are all air on TGIF together, even if they're like very different shows, different creators, like weren't established to be spinoffs of each other, we're just going to have characters pop up occasionally and one or the other. Sometimes it'll be a fun cameo. Sometimes we'll make a big deal out of it. Like it can go run the gamut. I'm sure we'll do fun crossovers as a regular gimmicks episode of some kind, because there are some weird, very weird, funny times when it has happened where it is a weird situation, like the Simpsons X-Files crossover, for example. Right. You know, there are interesting situations. So I'm not going to try to say that the Abbott Elementary Always Sunny one is like a super unique situation, but it is still a rare one. And I think there are enough factors in it that still do make it kind of stand out as more unique than pretty much the majority of crossovers that have happened in TV history, especially in 2025 when you aren't expecting this to necessarily happen.
Exactly. And I did look at like what things were still pumping into some crossovers. I was surprised to see as many like little procedurals, but then there are these like shared, I guess they're still procedurals, universes. A lot of more recent stuff is done out of like the Chicago Fire and Chicago Medical, all the characters will switch between them. Even
then, those are still like pre-established to be in the same universe.
Exactly.
You know, like they're all spin-offs of each other. I still think there's something specific about a show that was not related except that they air on the same network,
right?
Crossing over with each other,
right?
And this is an instance where they don't even air.
They don't even have that.
Network. They are utterly unrelated in virtually every single way.
Exactly.
Like, yeah. That's the thing. Really, the one bit of connecting tissue is that like that allows this to happen at all is that both Always Sunny and Abbott are at least partially owned by Disney in some way. Sure. So you know what? Well. Disney was right to be a monopoly because it gets us TV crossovers between two unrelated shows. So you know what? Be a monopoly, take over the world. It's fine. It was all worth it for this singular crossover on television.
Yeah, I agree.
No, obviously, we could get rid of this if we could get rid of if we had to sacrifice this crossover to get rid of the Disney monopoly. Obviously, we would. But you know what? If we have to live in this dystopia, then at least we get a fun crossover out of it, right?
Exactly. At least I can see some fun art.
Yeah. Abbott, it's a co-production between 20th Century and Warner Brothers. So even though Warner Brothers is involved, 20th Century is owned by Disney. Right. Always Sunny wasn't originally a Disney property, but became Disney when Disney bought up all Fox properties, which included FX and FXX. And FXP, weird. I think is the name of the studio that's related to the FXX, Fox. All the F's and X's, that's all tied up. They're who own Always Sunny, basically. So
that's right, because I think I watched It's Always Sunny on Disney Plus because that's how it streams internationally.
Isn't that weird? It will still never be hilarious, darkly hilarious to me that there's all that turmoil over the Lizzie McGuire reboot because they were making Lizzie McGuire too adult, and now you can Lizzie McGuire too adult for Disney Plus, and now you can watch It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia on Disney Plus.
Oh yeah, I mean I launched Disney Plus
for nothing.
I launch Disney Plus, I click my little avatar that looks like Mickey Mouse's head or whatever the fuck I have to do, and then I can watch Saw. Like that, the world has no meaning anymore.
Yeah. We lost the Lizzie McGuire reboot for nothing, for no reason. I will never not be mad about that. Anyway, justice for Hilary Duff. Anyway, yes. So there's that one connective tissue. And I think that really is the only reason that this is allowed to work, is all of these ideas, no matter how good the ideas would have been and how great everyone worked together, if they didn't have one corporation that was just like, yeah, sure, we'll make money either way, so who gives a shit? Like, that allows that to happen. So, you know, not to say that everything is owed to Disney or anything, but I think that's why you don't see this happen more often, is because you still need some bit of connective tissue somewhere.
But I also think that there's a landscape of horrors that is corporate mandated crossovers, and this one's not born out of like Bob Iger's desk, right? This isn't The Simpsons doing a Star Wars short. This is all because I think the thing is, from an executive point of view, you wouldn't want these two things to cross over. It doesn't make any sense for these two things to cross over. They're two completely different audiences that you wouldn't want to share. And it's not so, like, you know, and it is, it's like, I think that this is something spurned only from like creativity and comedy and like the desire for comedy more than anything else. So it is a very different sort of situation, I think, from what we're seeing in these other corporate IP conversations. You know, the things that make this really interesting, these are two shows on two different networks aimed at two different audiences. Abbott is on ABC. It's a show in mockumentary format aimed at family audiences on a mainstream network, run for 4 years. Oh my gosh, and I didn't even consider the mockumentary of it all, but that's even in the episode. They like call a little bit of attention to it. Okay, great. Oh, we'll totally
talk
spaced
about
on that.
I think it's a part of the reason why they even did this to begin with. So then you have that. Then you have Always Sunny, which airs on FX/FXX, a cable network. It is like a dark, raunchy black comedy aimed at adults. It's also run for 20 years. So like, even the length of time that the shows have existed, the disparity is huge. Like these shows are not in the same orbit at all, except for the fact that the people who work on it get along. Like, it really was just Quinta Brunson and Rob McElhenney met at the Emmys. They hit it off, and we're like, we're both from Philadelphia. Our shows are in Philadelphia. Wouldn't it be funny if our shows crossed over?
Oh my God.
Like, I think jokingly, because it's like, because that's a ridiculous idea.
Right, and they'll never let us.
More sort of like, but wait, what if they actually did though?
I also love that part of it is like, wouldn't that be funny? Oh, they'll never let us do this. That had to be on somebody's mind, right? Nobody's going to let this happen.
I think so, but I think also both of them, I feel like I don't know either of them, you know, very well in terms of like reading about their careers and stuff like that. But the sense that I've always gotten from both of them is that they are both just sort of like, no, I am going to do everything I can to make my art in the way that I want it to. Like, they both feel like true, like, go-getters in that way, you know? And it's like, if I get a bit of sway, I'm going to use it to make the art that I want to make. I think both of them I get the sense from both of them, because both of the things that they've made are sort of like, feel very much like their vision, and feel like, you know, when they can make, I don't know, when they can make art, they try to make sure that they're making art, right? So I think it makes sense to me that the both of them would sort of jive together and then pitch it to Bob Iger. And Bob Iger, shockingly, is like very into it, apparently.
Sweet. Hey, listen, a broken clock is right twice a day, Derek.
Yeah, I mean, I think that one of the other things that was funny, there's so many TV crossovers that you could like cite, but apparently the one that Brunson cited in like when she was talking about this early on, when they were teasing that there was going to be an Abbott Elementary crossover, was that she wanted it to be like the excitement she had watching the Disney Channel crossover That's So Sweet Life of Hannah Montana. That was a crossover between That's So Raven, The Sweet Life of Zach and Cody, and Hannah Montana.
What? What?
That was her
Hold
pop
on.
culture touchstone.
Hold on.
Which I think is so fucking beautiful, and like, what a true millennial. I love it so much.
Brunson, defend your crime. You are 35 years old. Oh my gosh, why is she so successful? Oh, I'll never be anyone. Wow.
It's so good. It's so funny.
Oh
it's so funny. I
that
love
is
that.
hilarious. Did you watch that crossover, Derek? You would have been the right age for that.
I was kind of out on Disney Channel by that point.
Okay.
But my little sister, who's like 7 years younger than I was, that was absolutely like in her purview. So I knew that sort of universe, especially like Hannah Montana and stuff, through her. So I knew that it happened, but I have not seen it. But
Okay.
I know that was a big deal for like the young end of millennials.
Yeah. That's right. Because most of those shows are a little bit even younger pitched, even for Disney, right?
Well, I would say I think more like they just came later.
Okay.
The main
Got
thing.
it. Got
Yeah,
it.
like That's So Raven, I think, is the oldest of that set, and that started in like 2004, I think.
Okay.
The rest of these were even later in the 2000s. Like I think that was towards the end of That So Raven's life that this happened.
Yeah. Okay.
If I'm remembering my Disney Channel history.
It's funny. I'm familiar with all of them by name, but I don't think I've ever seen. I think I've seen That's So Raven, but I've never seen A Sweet Life of Zach and Cody. And I've never seen Hannah Montana either. Sorry, girl.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I think it was just shocking that the higher ups were like down to do it. And I think it was easier than I think they probably thought to like make all the contract, like the business side of it. I think it was easier to work it out than I think they all expected. So the hardest part, I think, was just the specific scheduling with everyone, really, ultimately, is what it was.
Oh, sure. Yeah, of course. They're on different production schedules, as you mentioned. Like the It's Always Sunny won't come out till later. So what are the actors doing right now? Like,
right. Exactly. Well, I think like Caitlin Olsen, I think they weren't sure if they're going to be able to get her because she's in, funny enough, she is in another ABC show, like the crime genre High Potential, which I've never seen. Glenn Howerton was also busy. He was filming like a comedy for Netflix. So like his schedule was in doubt. And I think the reason that you barely see him in the Abbott episode is because he was only available for half a day. And also, even if he was available for more, the writers were like unclear on how available he'd be until like the last minute. So they just planned to not give him that much to do. Which is why he's like barely there. But I do think like what they write for him makes sense for his character.
Well, and some of it is Howerton's acting, because he is so squirrely every time he is on camera that you totally buy that this character, who is otherwise like sort of an asshole, awful person who wouldn't mind being an asshole, awful person, when there's a camera pointed at him, is suddenly like, ooh, I gotta go. I gotta get out of here.
Right. I think that was part of the thing that like they were interested in. It's just sort of like, these are two completely different formats for shows, mockumentary and just like single cam. Like if you like, they figured they could play with that. So like the Always Sunny characters are going to be acting as if they were on camera, because in the universe of Abbott Elementary, they're surrounded by characters, which means that they're not going to be as raunchy and cruel as they are on the Always Sunny show, because they are being seen on camera, which then means that they can be toned down for Abbott Elementary, airing at a earlier time slot on ABC for a wider audience, justifiably in universe be toned down.
Yeah.
And then when you see the version of it on Always Sunny in like a month or whatever, after this, or like many months after this originally airs, like you're going to see the spaces in between with the Abbott Elementary cameras caught, where they are actually being their full horrible selves, probably saying harsher words and shit like that, and doing worse stuff, because you're seeing when they're not on camera. Like it's kind of the genius of how they approach it.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Yeah. I'm really excited then again to follow that through. That is so fascinating. And when I watched the episode, it also struck me them calling attention to it. And I just think, I know that it's part of the premise of the show that they are, I think, to use Ava's terms, having a Vanderpump thing going on. Yeah. But because it's not referenced frequently enough, I kind of forget about it as like, there are actual documentarians there. And I think the only show that like reminds me of that is like a What We Do in the Shadows, because like the cameraman will get eaten or something.
Yeah, I think that I like how Abbott Elementary plays it kind of fast and loose, because I do think that like it's a thing that I've seen people complain about with mockumentary stuff. It's sort of like, well, like logically, how the camera is doing XXX, why are they recording this? There's sort of like, you can't really think of it like that. It really is just like, that's just a like that's like watching a multicam sitcom and be like, but where are the people that are laughing at them coming from? Like, where are those laughs coming from? It's like, no, it's just part of the structure of what you're watching on TV. It's just a way to tell a story narratively. And sometimes they will have fun with acknowledging, like in a meta way, that there are cameras filming them. But you know, most of the time, like it doesn't make sense that the cameras are going to be like going to these teachers' homes or whatever, or like seeing them, filming them do illegal things, like they're keeping secret or whatever, you know, like, no, it doesn't make sense but that's just sort of part of the structure of the structure of the mockumentary format.
Oh yeah.
You aren't supposed to really be thinking of the cameras being there. And if they acknowledge it, it's for a joke. Like, you know, like I think some mockumentaries have done that poorly. Like, I don't really love when The Office like makes a whole story and character out of like a boom mic operator or whatever. I think that's sort of weird. And I think that does kind of hurt the sort of reality of it. But I think conversely, Parks and Rec, I think just at a certain point just stopped even acknowledging that there are cameramen there and just pretended that that's just how it's being filmed.
Yeah.
And what we do in the shadows, I think also kind of plays it a little bit fast and loose sometimes with exactly what's real and what isn't.
Or like Modern Family, the pilot is very clearly, there are documentarians following us. And the second episode is like, nope, this is just house style. Get used to it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But for the purposes of comedy for this, they can be like, okay, you know what? This will be a time where we lean on the fact that in universe there are cameras here because it's going to make these characters act differently.
It's smart.
I just think that's really, really smart.
It's smart. Yeah.
This is really funny too. Apparently Danny DeVito was like a hard get for it because he wasn't answering their phone calls. Like it wasn't, I don't think it was anything that he was doing intentionally. I think he was just like
disconnected.
On break. He was just disconnected, not paying attention. They'd call him and he just like wouldn't pick up and they didn't know where he was. They're like, I don't know, man. I guess he's just not available because like he's just probably in some fucking cabin unconnected river somewhere, and then eventually they were able to get in contact with him.
I love this.
Yeah, sure, I'll do the episode. Who gives a shit?
I love this.
Like,
he was like, I'm not doing anything. I'm on Do Not Disturb. Don't bother me. I'm Danny
right,
DeVito.
Exactly. Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah. But you know, obviously, as you can see, they got basically everyone except for Howerton, and Howerton was there a little bit.
Enough.
He will, I think, be fully in the Always Sunny version of the episode. So,
well, and probably, you know, we're speculating because it's not out for a couple months, but probably with this runway, more of the Abbott cast will be like a for sure thing on the It's Always Sunny part of this.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
For writing it, you know, obviously, as you said, like the tones are very different for these shows. So what they did is they had Rob McElhenney and Charlie Day like sit in on the Abbott writers room for like a day or so to develop it with them. So they did that. Also, there was a connection because Abbott's script supervisor, Jeff Gonzalez, had previously worked on Always Sunny for like 11 years.
Oh my God.
Like, they had someone that was already connective tissue from the writers room anyway. And then, so like, you know, McElhenney and Day participate in developing the story, and then the Abbott writers are the ones who are taking on both episodes. So the room was split in half. Half of them wrote the Abbott episode. The other half are then writing the Always Sunny episode. But they still, because they aren't staffed on Always Sunny, they had to close separate deals to receive consulting credits on Always Sunny. So the episodes are probably going to end up being credited to Always Sunny writers, but the Abbott writers contributed a lot to that script.
Wow.
Ultimately.
Wow. Yeah. When I think about this sounds like, I don't know. It sounds really neat to me, but I don't work in a writer's room, so I don't know if like this is like one of those things where like somebody comes in and like, we're going to split the room in half and like half work on this and half work on that, if it was annoying or not, but it sounds really fun.
To me, it sounds like a creative collaboration type of thing that I like. Like that's, you know, I've worked in like a corporate creative field for a long time, and there is something really special when you find out you're getting to collaborate with other creatives that you don't normally get to collaborate on or with in some way. Like it doesn't even matter what it is. If it's just like you get to work with some like art director that like you've never worked with before and closely on a project in a way that you normally don't, like suddenly it's exciting, even if you've been like, you know, doing the same stuff like over and over for years. Right.
Yeah.
I have to imagine it's probably similar to that, because these are all these people in both rooms are comedy writers. That surely they're all people who love comedy.
Yeah.
So then to be allowed to work with people who are writing a different type of comedy, and then you get to also kind of play on their style, that just sounds really exciting to me, because you get to like sort of flex muscles that you aren't able to necessarily do on the current job that you're currently staffed on, you know?
Yeah. You're probably right.
Yeah.
You're probably right.
Yeah.
That sounds cool.
I hope so. Or maybe they fist fought. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, we already talked about it. Like the production schedules were wildly different, so they had plenty of scheduling conflicts, but they were able to work it out as best they could. They filmed the Abbott Elementary episode for an extra day. That show normally only films for 5 days. They filmed it for an extra 6 day. And like even this is just interesting. This episode has the most complicated or elaborate special effect in Abbott Elementary, apparently. Because this show doesn't do special effects.
No,
it's a show about a school.
Yeah.
But apparently the scoreboard falling down at the beginning of the episode, because it's all done in like one take, because they're just panning back and forth, and then it is just perfectly timed when it falls down. That was all an in-camera practical effect. And that's apparently the most elaborate one they've ever done, because they had to time all the camera work and that scoreboard falling perfectly, apparently.
Yeah.
Which is just really funny, because it has like nothing to do with the Always Sunny stuff, but they still put it at the beginning of the episode as sort of their big opening fanfare for this big episode they're doing.
Yeah. I did like that whole sequence. I liked the scoreboard as a runner for Ava as well. It's just a fun little beat that she was trying to get this fixed and taken care of.
Yeah, apparently this episode is 15 seconds longer than a normal episode of Abbott Elementary. They wanted it to have a longer runtime, and ABC is sort of like, you got 15 seconds. So congratulations.
That's funny. Wow. I wonder what they could have done with, see, the thing is I think about the world and I think like, oh, we're in a streaming world, but we're not. This is literally broadcast television.
Right.
So 15 seconds, that was actually a whole ad spot, I guess. I should be grateful that they gave up a whole ad spot of like pills to make you happy or unhappy or whatever.
It's not. Yeah, it's not nothing. I think it is more, that is more in network television time than you would think that it is.
But like I'm watching Black Mirror right now, and like the episodes are like, one of them is like 2 hours long. Like it's a fucking movie.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. So like you are new to Always Sunny. I mean, I'm not like a big viewer of it or whatever, but I at least like have known, even if I haven't seen a ton of the show, like we talk about in our Always Sunny episode, I've at least known these characters for many years, but like, you're very new to Always Sunny in general. So like, what was your experience watching this crossover?
Well, I'm really glad that I knew them, though I think it would have been really fascinating to have watched this without knowing them, because I do think that it would have been a really fun and cool experience. Much like watching the Noir episode without having yet really gotten to know the cast was a lot of fun for me. But then it was a heightened and better experience once I actually got to know them and rewatched the Noir episode. So having the experience with them, I think the thing that I appreciated the most was the way in which they were paired off with the Abbott characters. Because it was just like delicious the way that they were paired together, because it was almost as if the prompt in the writer's room was like, what will make the most sense but also cause the most like haphazard comedy, and it really struck a balance.
I agree. I think it makes a lot of sense what they do with all of them. Like, it is fascinating. Other than Dennis, every Always Sunny character gets a little mini storyline in this.
Yeah.
Which, considering you already have your full cast of Abbott characters, and this is like 5 extra people that you're throwing in that also get storylines, it's really elegantly done for 22 episodes. Like, the thing is, like, I know that the Always Sunny episode is coming, but watching this one, I don't feel like I'm missing a lot.
No, I totally agree.
I'm actually very curious what's going to be in the Always Sunny version of it, because I'm like, I don't really know what else there is to tell. I think it's just going to be I think they've said that you can treat the Always Sunny like a standalone episode still, because it's still going to be like everything. Like, these are all the stories you see. Those stories are probably not going to be the ones you see in the Always Sunny episode. It's going to be everything else that you're not seeing completely, which means it's just going to be a completely different episode that just happens to have the Abbott characters, and probably the Abbott characters behaving more raunchily than you normally would see.
Right. But I do love that the It's Always Sunny characters are still awful. They're just awful. They're awful in a different way, which I think is kind of interesting. Like Charlie Day, for example, is awful at literacy, and then it gives Cheryl Lee Ralph this opportunity to be like a hero. And then by the end, I got a little like emotional, and I felt like it was a deserved like win.
It's so funny that like you still get, your pretty typical heartwarming like Abbott Elementary ending with an Always Sunny character with Charlie Day. Like, it's so funny. It's so funny.
And then like Dee's whole thing.
Oh my God.
I loved this story.
I think Dee and Janine That's my favorite story in this episode because it's so fun because like because there's like zero stakes to them ultimately. Like obviously Gregory Eddie isn't going to be like, yeah, ooh, she's seducing me. Like, you know that the entire time. And they play that for comedy, that it's just like Janine's having a panic attack about this. And he's just like, okay, so
I would
she
never
likes
do
me.
this.
So
Yeah,
what? Like,
yeah.
do you think I'm going to leave you for her? What are you talking about?
But what I like that Dee actually does is that she does get. We don't see Janine mad a lot in the series, and it's almost always fun when we do, because it is such a. It's almost like a dark part of her personality, but it's not dark because it's Janine.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It was just so much fun to see this happen. I mean, I think that they're both comedy geniuses too. So like their interactions are fun together. I loved Dee being like a really good teacher because that is like a fun part of her character.
Yeah, the fact that she is like out of all these, like she is genuinely like a successful person in that like she went to a good college. She obviously she is good with the children and everything. Like she's like does like the things that she sees in Janine are clearly genuine. Like that,
right?
Like if it like there's a universe where they could have been friends, maybe toxic friends, but you could see them having been friends. That's just such a funny take on it because they are in so many ways such like completely different characters. They're so unrelated, but they find the few things that would let them click and like play with that. So then it's like a big betrayal when suddenly she's like crushing on Janine's boyfriend.
Exactly.
And Janine has this ridiculous reaction to it. I fucking love when she like is running to Ava's office out of breath about it because she's so freaked out about it. And Ava is sort of like, what do you want? Like, it's so funny.
She's so awful.
Like,
but
imitating her.
But you know what? That's what I also love is that McElhenney or Mac is then the like counterpart of Ava, and he's actually like doing all these like super nice things just to get their community service firm signed, of course. But then in the end, it is him like overdoing the kindness that actually crosses a line for Ava. Like, don't make these people think that I like them. I rule on fear. And I just thought like this is so wonderful that all the characters are so awful that even when Mac is trying to do something good, he still fucks it up for the character he's assigned to.
Such a good point. It's so clever. And also how clever of them to do this crossover during a point in the series when there has, in this season of Abbott Elementary, been a very long running like blackmail storyline. Like that is like the important plot that has only just gotten resolved, like, or only just gets revolved like at the end of the season.
Oh, cool.
Like that is an important piece of the show at this point, is that like the school is now blackmailing like another company, and obviously it's going to get them in hot water. So you get these like terrible characters that are sort of like, yeah, we know blackmail. Like,
yeah, I love blackmail.
Bread and butter for us. Like, of course they'd be involved when that storyline is happening, you know?
Yeah. It's just so good. I loved it so very much. I loved DeVito's whole stick as well, just because it was like grotesque, but it was wonderful to see. And again, ever since I learned about like sort of DeVito's dedication to the bit, it has made me appreciate every single thing I see with Frank so much more, and this included.
And it's like more gross out comedy than Abbott Elementary normally does. So you're still getting a little bit of Always Sunny seeping into it. Like he's like sleeping in a piss covered like bear pelt or wolf pelt or whatever, eating dirt, like
eating mulch,
locked in a cage.
But again, now that I know what I know about DeVito, he probably was like, let me see your cages. And he was like, this is the one. I want to be in this one.
Yeah, right. Exactly. It's really funny. Apparently they had a whole storyline where it was going to turn out that Frank and Mr. Johnson had like a backstory together. Like they went to high school together, and, like dated the same woman, and the person they dated was like a previous character on Abbott Elementary or whatever. But it simply had no time for it. That's probably one of the things they were asking for more time for. But then they got 15 seconds, and it's sort of like, well, we can't do the storyline in 15 seconds. No. So I guess we're cutting it.
No, well, and here's the thing is that Abbott actually like really lets jokes breathe. And that is one of the things I noticed about this episode is that there, just because there was so many characters to deal with, there wasn't a lot of breath on the jokes. I don't think it hurt the comedy, but I think that Abbott lives in the reaction shot a lot of times. And there were just far fewer of those this episode because you had to keep going.
You had to keep moving. And also like how many how many reaction shots did you have of, oh, that Always Sunny character is doing something weird reaction? Like,
right.
It would get older than I think it normally does for a show like this.
That's true. Yeah. And we do get like one from Gregory, and Gregory is like it's my modern B. Arthur. Like if I want someone to look into a camera, it's Gregory.
He is the best one of this whole cast of doing the turn to camera.
Truly.
Yeah.
Oh, so good. What else stood out to you in this episode? What else like sort of reminded you and made you have a good time?
This has nothing to do with the Always Sunny part. I just really like the joke, and I think it's so well voiced from Ava, where because Janine's obsessively like talking about she went to Penn State, and that's why she and Dee like connect. And Ava just says, "Janine, you're an adult. Stop bragging about something you did when you were 17." And I'm like, thank you. Finally, someone fucking said it. Jesus.
See, everyone thinks she's a bitch, but the truth comes from Ava.
She's like right most of the time with her observations about people. I fucking love it.
You were all thinking it. I just love her. I think that one of my favorite little moments was at the end. They do these sort of like straight, like mockumentary style on the It's Always Sunny cast, like recollecting on their time there at Abbott Elementary, and Dee is like, oh, he was gay. Because I think maybe there was even a moment in season 1, and I just forgotten it because I haven't like watched this recently, but I think that it's a very It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia character thing to be like, someone doesn't like me, they're gay. It's very in the ethos of that show. It's very much something Dee would say. It's very so much that like Charlie would say or Mac would say. But
and then it absolves you of like, it's like, oh, it's not because of me.
Oh no,
it's because
gay.
it's their problem. It's just because they're gay.
Yeah, and I don't know. It was the charm of Olsen, how she delivered the line. It was the circumstance. It was also the fact that like I don't see It's Always Sunny cast talking directly at me. Like that was a really nice thing to see. They staged them really well too, because they were sort of off center, so it wasn't even the same style as Abbott. It struck me visually.
Yeah. No, it's really funny. Yeah, actually, all of those the end talking head things, like Frank's everything that Frank learned was just sort of like, no, doing this community service was great. Crime is worth it. If we get to do this.
Oh my God, that's right. Ava at one point in time was like, I'm going to frame these people for crime so I can increase their hours. And then that is one time where we did use a reaction shot, because it cuts to McElhenney like in the closet steaming her clothes or something, being like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Oh, this was a great one.
Really
I'm really glad we watched this. I'm so excited for the follow-up to come. I'm like thrilled about it.
Yeah, I think we will certainly, whenever it's they haven't even announced the date. It's sometime in June is what they've said. So it's sometime in June it'll happen, and I imagine we'll just jump on it and do a little reaction to it just to follow this up as a little bonus. But yeah, I mean, if you're listening and you enjoyed this and want to hear more bonus episodes from us, let us know so we know to keep doing them. We have some ideas for other little mini episodes that we'll sprinkle out throughout that may or may not tie into what we're currently doing on Gimmicks on the main podcast. But I'm excited to do it. Just fill in these other gaps of TV that we just don't have room to talk about on the main podcast.
Yeah, and it's fun to just do a quick little chat about something that really tickled us.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, as usual, support us, give us a little tip, buy us a coffee at ko-fi.com/gimmickspod, follow us on Blue Sky and Instagram at gimmickspod, email us at gimmickspodcast@gmail.com, rate and review and all that stuff. So, yeah, you know the deal. And until next time, friends,
keep being weird.